you aware that the greatest single man-made structure ever built resides in Africa, and it's not the Great Pyramid of Giza? Ranging in height from 3 to 20 meters, the Wall of Benin, also known as the Great Wall of Africa, stretched for almost 10,000 miles in length, making it in its entirety long enough to extend around the perimeter of the USA, with over 1,000 miles of wall to spare, often extending above the treetops of around 2,500 square miles of land in southern Nigeria. To the locals, the Great Wall was known as Iya. Its construction required over 9.1 billion cubic feet of material to construct. However, like the Great Wall of China, the Iya was not a single wall, but rather a joint series of earthen ramparts and moats that utilized indigenous African methods of construction. It required over 150 million man-hours and an estimated 800 years to complete.
I remember being told this by a Marine that was with me, a Nigerian Marine, back in 1991 when we were sailing away on a Navy ship to Desert Storm. So that was 1990, 91. And of course, we didn't have the internet back then. That was during one of my Black Power phase, when I was reading all the books, the ISIS papers and things of that nature, Black Rose, White Justice, when I was reading all of those books. And I remember him telling me that when we was crossing the Straits of Gibraltar into Morocco, where Morocco was on one side and Europe was on the other side, and he was like, hey, man, my homeland is way the hell down there. But anyway, the thing about it, this is one of those things that have never been taught in world history. I wouldn't expect it to be taught in American Black history or American history, because it doesn't have a lot to do with American history. But when you take a class of when I took the class of world history, of course, we skipped over Africa and Asia and just really stuck in the Western civilizations. But oftentimes people like to remark about how Africans were living in mud huts and was so primitive during the time frame of during the dark ages of European, during the Renaissance, and all those sorts of time frames during the colonial time frames. But what the Wall of Benin demonstrates is that in Nigeria, in and around 700 to 800 CE, they began a massive construction of a fortified wall that is a bunch of interconnecting walls to secure their kingdom. And these walls lasted for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. Even when they began trading with the Portuguese, and were able to get guns, one of the things the Portuguese never gave them in trade was cannons. So in 1884, 85, during that time frame, when the British decided that they wanted to colonize Nigeria, when they came in with their cannons, what they were met by were these gigantic walls. Now, of course, because cannons will most likely win against guns and walls over time, the British was able to conquer and destroy the Benin walls. And what they did after they conquered it is they basically ravished all of it and took all the ivory that they was known for, because this was a huge city-state type of construction, something that they were building this in the 700s, 800s, 900s, 1000s, the 1000s, long before European castles began to being built en masse. So they were right there. Not saying that one is better than the other. I'm never saying that. It is never a time frame that one civilization is better than the other civilization, because we're all people. But when they saw these fortified walls and they destroyed them, then they ravaged it. They took it as spoils of war. And right now, you can still see some of these spoils of war in the British Museum. You can see some of them in private collections. And what brought this back to my memory was the fact that I saw a news article that was around, I think it was 2022, 2020 time frame, that the Smithsonian returned over 29 artifacts from Nigeria that had been confiscated or stolen during the time frame of this conquest. But this just demonstrates the ingenuity of people, period. Not placing one group over another, but something that, as a Black person born in America, we were always taught that Africans were so primitive. Africans weren't building anything. Africans didn't have any technologies. African were so low on the totem pole. These are things that we were never taught, that Africans were engineers, that Africans were merchants, that Africans were scientists, that everybody around the world, depending upon the culture to which they were coming from, and depending upon their terrain, depending upon their society, they developed their own technologies. Just because one person developed technologies faster than another group doesn't make that group better than the other one. Just because a group developed technologies that literally and utterly destroyed another group doesn't necessarily mean that that group is better than that other group as well. It's just the way the world is. Because right now, America has technologies that many countries don't have. But I saw some technology in Beijing the other day that we don't have in America. So it is what it is. We are going to develop different technologies regardless of where we are in the world. And it doesn't mean that one group is smarter or better than the other group. But what this does show is that people utilize history in order to gain pride in themselves. That's one of the things that history is great for, is that when a child sees that this African nation had built these walls that could circumvent the United States and still have a lot of room left over, that was larger than the Great Wall of China, because the Great Wall of China is something that Chinese people take pride in, then when a child is taught that their ancestors were able to do these things, it emboldens that child to believe that they can accomplish great things. But when you live in a society that is always trying to look at its most marginalized and oppressed people and tell them that they come from nothingness, and without European colonization that they would have died or still be living in their ignorance and things of that nature, all you're doing is demoralizing that child to not believe in themselves. And for a country that says that it wants everybody to participate in the American dream, it wants everybody to contribute to the growth and beauty and wealth and the science of that country, why would you withhold that information that could help that child to develop into the next person who develops something great scientifically, develops something great medically, develops something great just in the way that we live our lives? If America truly, and I'm still a little MAGA thing here, if America truly wanted to be great, because it's never been great again, but if America ever wants to truly be great, then it would stop trying to marginalize and handicap any of its citizens and look to put every citizen in the best possible position to be able to truly make America a great country. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.